Alright, so I definitely think I should address the Spider-Man leaving the MCU controversy. I don't really want to, but someone's gonna ask, so let's just get this out of the right way. And the reason I don't want to talk about this is because the reaction and discussion around this whole thing has become so toxic so quickly. I'm like, I just don't even want to think about it. Also, the Amazon is burning and we're all going to die because 20% of the world's oxygen comes from there, and we should really be more concerned about that than a fictional character. But no, we will talk about the fictional character. Alright, so, to give my thoughts real quick, because to tell you the truth, I don't really have a strong opinion on this one way or another. I won't go over the details. Y'all know it. So just getting straight into my opinion, I hate both these companies. Disney has turned into a giant growing blob that is just attempting to consume any and all entertainment and intellectual property, and will continue to do such until they pretty much control everything. Sony, on the other hand, is a group of lizard people who seem to think that there is a mathematic equation to how to make a sustainable movie franchise that will just rake them in billions of dollars forever and for all eternity. Neither of these are the good guys. Stop taking sides in this, people. Be against both companies. In all due reality, I don't think this is going to amount to much. I do understand Disney's perspective of, well, Sony just went ahead and piggybacked off us, made a Venom franchise, is doing Morbius, is doing Venom 2, and also they've been threatening for a while that they were going to cut ties once the deal was up. This was not a new thing. Everyone knew this was coming and knew that we still couldn't trust Sony. So, yeah, I get where Disney wants a little more cut of the pie, especially because they've done all the legwork. Spider-Man's back in the limelight because of them, because of the MCU, because of the creative control. And to see Sony just basically go back to their old bullshit and try and start back up their frickin' Sinister Six universe that no one cares about, yeah, I think Disney has a right to maybe be like, well, we want a little more incentive that it's worth working with you guys. I do understand that. But on the other hand, from Sony's perspective, like I said, Disney is a blob. They're absorbing everything. They bought 20th Century Fox and everything there is now going to shit. If Disney is already going to start wanting more control of Sony and can throw that weight around and get whatever they want, yeah, it's kind of dangerous, and I can understand why Sony would want to take their biggest property, essentially one of the reasons they're still able to function as a movie studio. I can understand I want to take him and get as far away from Disney as possible. So yeah, ultimately, I don't like any of these people who are involved in this. I do not like either side, so I don't really have a ton to say, to tell you the truth. I mean, the one thing I will say is I think ultimately Spider-Man will get back to the MCU. Because obviously the fan backlash, and also Sony, who notoriously refused to show any sign of weakness until things reach as bad as they did, i.e. Amazing Spider-Man 2, has already said, look man, we're willing to negotiate, just Disney's got to actually be willing to talk back. And even though much of the fan base immediately went against Sony and sided with Disney, I think everyone is slowly starting to realize what was actually going on, and I think we're going to see a James Gunn situation where there will be a very strong fan push towards Disney to, come on guys, deal, work with them a little bit. I think that's ultimately where all this is going to go. Whether it happens tomorrow or a month from now is ultimately inconsequential, because there seems to be any real plan for a big crossover movie that Spider-Man would be necessary in. And also, Spider-Man Home 3, whatever you want to call it, even if they started working on it tomorrow, would still be a couple years away. So I think ultimately this is going to amount to nothing and turn into that thing we look back on and like we really lost our heads over all this in not really a long amount of time. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Also, if you really desperately want to see Spider-Man be with the rest of the Avengers, read a fucking comic book. I don't want to be that guy, but it's time to be that guy. Like, if you really care about Spider-Man, and you really care about him being with the Avengers, and you really care about superheroes, read the fucking comics. So yeah, anyway, so moving on to Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. First and foremost thing I really appreciated in this was they really smartly used the recap. Like, yeah, I know that's a weird way to start off with, but I thought that was a very smart use of the recap, because essentially it just sort of focuses on what's really important here. What's really important is that once upon a time, Roboppy was this cute, happy little cleaning robot, and he was perfectly content doing that forever and eternity, making Yusaku's room happy and clean, and therefore in turn putting a smile on Yusaku's face. That's all he wanted. But then power came into the mix. But then the idea of free will and intelligence and becoming stronger showed up. Then I showed up, and I turned Roboppy into this twisted, evil psychopath. And unfortunately, this whole thing ended in tragedy with the cute little vacuum robot having to be destroyed. And that is ultimately the kind of point to all this. And why it's important they showed it and presented it that way is because it proves Revolver right. It essentially says that everything Revolver is after, everything he thinks, the aspects of his ideology are all to some extent correct. AIs are dangerous. AIs that are allowed to get stronger can become our enemy, and they need to be kept in check and put under control. There's a very valid case for that, and I think it's very smart and very good of the writers to put that case in the forefront of last week's episode. And they pick a very smart way to present it going into this week's, i.e., Revolver descends from the sky like he's a goddamn savior. If that isn't a genius way to introduce a character who thinks he's in the right, I don't know what is. But all joking aside, that really is clever, because Revolver's whole I don't know why I'm saying his name wrong today. Revolver's whole angle this time around is that, look man, this is what's gotta happen. I gotta do this. I gotta stop him. I'm right. I gotta protect everyone. In Revolver's head, everything he does is for the right reason. Even if he acknowledges that he maybe has to do some bad things to get to the right thing, the ends always justify the means to him. And that is why he feels he is the right person to do this going further. And he's kind of right. Further. I don't know what's with my words today. But no, like, he is perfectly right to think that Yusaku can't handle this, and that Homura, who was about to lose to the vacuum, also can't handle this. So he's like, let me do it. But then we get what I really liked. I love Revolver's smile when they ask him, so you're going to kill him? He's just like, yep. No hint of irony, no sadness, no anything. Just like, I'm going to do what I've always wanted to do, because it's what I've been after from day one. And immediately Revolver goes from being the reluctant ally back to being the antagonist. They came up with a very clever way to bring us back to that idea that this guy is nuts. He may have a good goal, he may have some level of justification for what he does, but ultimately he's insane. He is violent, and he will do whatever he wants to get to said goal, even if that means destroying I, something the rest of our cast isn't really willing to do. So therefore, they are now at opposite sides again. And immediately, what happens but Soulburner's just like, okay, fine, duel me for this letter. Now, some may say that this feels a little rushed, but when you actually think about it, it's a pretty smart thing because, well, Homer has never not wanted to punch this guy in the face. He wanted to duel him. He wanted revenge. He wanted to take all his anger and twisted feelings out on Revolver. I got it right this time. That's been his goal for a while now. So the minute he got that opportunity to do it, he snatched it and he went for it. And Revolver did not hesitate. I loved it when we were all of a sudden in front of the facility the kids were held in. I love that it's raining. I love that it's muggy. I love that it's a real looking location. It's smart for a lot of reasons. And one of the biggest things they do to really sell this is the way everyone's body body language changes. The minute we get to the whole thing, Yusaku is no longer tough, stern guy. He's got kind of this emotional look on his face. Homura also has sort of gotten rid of his confidence, if only for a moment, to sort of wonder what's going on. And when Revolver just says why they're here and why he picked this location, it's not angry, it's not hate-filled, it's just kind of like, this is what it is, and we have to address that if, in any way, shape, or form, we all want to move on. It's clever, it's smart, it's unique, and it's that idea that Revolver will always want to do what he thinks the right thing to do is, and there's this almost sense to this that he wants Soulburner to move on. He wants to fix this guy. He also wants to, rule the world and create a new world order, but he's not above wanting to help Yusaku and Homura in his own twisted, screwed up way. And that's kind of what all this seems to be about. And then we move on to the duel, and you can clearly tell they wanted this to be a two-parter because they used as much reusable footage as possible. I don't have a ton to say about the duel, as obviously it's just going to heat up. I will say a couple things. It is annoying to see Fury of Fire, which is not a good card for Salamangreat, show up. Other than that, although I do like the way he sets up Violet Chimera, and I like the way he sort of smartly used Salamangreat Sanctuary, it's also fun to see stuff from the Revolver structure deck show up, because a lot of those cards are very good, and I think we will definitely see Rockets, maybe not this format, but next format, once everything gets weakened further, probably do something. So that is fun, but the main thing is, oh my god, the reused footage. Everything from the XC summoning to how they show the whole frickin' Link summoning scene. But the best of all, the best part of the whole duel is when Borlo Dragon is summoned, and it's summoned in a desert. Please, dear God, someone explain to me why it's in a desert. Besides the fact that it's footage they had lying around. It made me laugh so hard, and it did kind of take me out for a minute. But it's really funny. Like, why couldn't you just, if you're just going to use the same CGI shot of Borload every time, couldn't you just put it over a still image of the facility? Was that hard? Other thing of note, and I know we got to wrap up here, we're getting pretty long, is that I do find it nice that Yusaku and Ai's dual commentary is less the standard kind of stuff we see and more in line with the way real people kind of react to duels. Like, Aya's sort of adding this snarky edge to it, and Yusaku isn't being like, he didn't use Mirage Stalio, what is he thinking? It's like, no, he just goes, he didn't use Mirage Stalio, what's he planning? That's kind of how duelists actually think and how a lot of people react to the anime. So yeah, all in all, I think this is a very smart, well-executed 25 minutes of television, and hopefully it will continue as such, as I'm pretty certain Revolver's going to win, because A, we probably got to show off that new Topologic thing from the structure deck, and also, two, you can't really do much if our two heroes succeed and get exactly what they want. So yeah, that's it for that. As for the TCG question of the week, so Fist of the Gadgets is coming out Friday. So my question to you is, do you care about this? Because, like, Fire Fist is popular and gadgets are popular, but I'm like, are they really popular enough? And yeah, there's good reprints, and we finally get the rest of the Cyber stuff we've been missing, plus a Star Venom reprint. We kind of did need that. But all in all, what do you think about this set, and is it something you'll be picking up? Tell me about that below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me next week for all your Spider-Man type news. Okay, I'm probably not going to talk about this again, but join me next week for more Yu-Gi-Oh!